Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are all doing well. Um, been pretty busy behind the scenes for the last week or so, putting together yet another sort of expose video, if you will, about Suno this time. For those of you that have been on the channel for a while or recently maybe discovered my channel as a result of it, we put a little video out about a month and a half ago showcasing what sounded like copyright protected not sound recordings, but musical compositions, lyrics, melodies, that kind of a thing, chords, inside Udio's model. And that little video ended up getting referenced and used in the lawsuit that's now been filed against Udio. So the RIAA, the Recording Industry Association of America, along with the three major labels, banded up together and they're now suing Suno and Udio. And thanks to that video and thanks to, frankly, you guys watching it, sharing it, liking it, commenting on it, kind of making waves with it, it is now included in the conversation, at least in this one particular lawsuit with Udio. So I'm beyond grateful for that. I think that's a really cool, substantial, meaningful contribution that we've all made. Obviously, this came to me as a result of the anonymous source that let me know they discovered it, and then, me putting the video together. But really, frankly, we can do all these things, and then if it just goes on the internet and nobody watches it, nobody shares it, nobody really interacts with it or likes it, it would just die and there'd be no attention. So it's really thanks to you guys for, just kind of being the voices amplifying this thing and putting it out on the internet that eventually got the attention of the lawyers of the labels and the RIAA. And we'll definitely be talking about that lawsuit more in today's live stream. I know many different opinions on that. I've been talking a little bit about the cynicism I've been hearing lately about it, and how some people are not happy that the labels are suing AI companies, or they just think, great, it's thieves fighting thieves, who cares? Artists are going to get screwed no matter what. So there's a lot of cynicism out there that I'm trying to fight against, or at least to give a counter argument to it, that sometimes in life you don't get the ideal scenario that you want, where every single, hey, what's up, Mono, Nick, Matthew, good to see you guys. Not every single player in the music industry is 100%, ethical or signing deals or offering deals that you and I would agree with. And I'm not here to say that the major labels are angels or anybody in the music industry is just all amazing. Of course, that's not what's being argued here. But sometimes you get sort of two not so great options in life, but you still got to find out which one of those options are the most advantageous to you and which ones can be useful. And I do believe, hey, what's up, Peter? Good to see you, man. I do believe that the labels and the RIAA going after Suno and Udio at least can put a step forward for getting us some clarity on these issues. That's my point of view. And even if I'm not a major recording artist, which I'm not, I don't have any music represented by the major labels or anything like that. I am a 100%, you guys know me, production music library guy. All my music has been distributed through essentially indies, indie production music libraries. I guess, Megatrax, 5 Alarm, are they indie? I don't know, whatever you want to call them. But not the Sonys and the Warners and even the Universals, right? So I haven't been in those catalogs. But I think we indies can obviously benefit from lawsuits like this, because the trickle down effect of a precedent being set or a message being sent to the industry as to, and you better believe that if you're a generative AI music company right now and you haven't released anything publicly, like maybe 11 Labs, they were the ones teasing that they had this really impressive music model out there. But again, we were hearing those examples and some of us were noticing some of those examples sounded a lot like some of our favorite singers and bands. You better believe that companies like that are looking at this situation very carefully and deciding if they want to move forward. For those of you that didn't catch OpenAI's Sam Altman's interview on the All In podcast about, what was it, a month or two ago, he specifically said in that interview they are not moving forward with music generative technologies, because maybe they caught wind that there were some lawsuits that were about to come down, or they themselves know that the music industry does not mess around when it comes to their rights, comes to the copyrights. The music industry will sue, as we see here. And so some generative AI companies are certainly getting the message that, there might be certain types of content online that are a little bit more, there's more wiggle room to be able to train off of them without consent. But when it comes down to music and copyright, especially some of the popular artists that seem to be, for me, possibly in these data sets for these big companies or these leading companies, that could be some dangerous ground and some dangerous games to play. And so some of these generative AI companies, even the biggest, OpenAI, I don't think there's anybody bigger than them, like leading the charge, right? Even they are going like, we're not doing that. We don't want to mess with the music industry. So I think there are messages that are being sent here, regardless of what happens. So I think this is encouraging for the rest of us that maybe aren't going to be paying hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars for lawyers, can't afford that, to help secure our rights. So these kinds of big dogs, these kind of big gorillas in the room that do have those resources and do have the lawyers to help fight these fights can help send a message and set a precedent that then the rest of us sort of fall under the shadow, the umbrella of these previous court decisions. And that video we put out, that Udio video, it's included. Our conversations, I think many of you guys watching this, not all of you, but I think some of you guys watching this share my concerns that this is a really big issue. And I know some of you have been frustrated that I haven't been, or I just said in one of those recent videos that we're going to kind of get off the AI thing. And then here I am again, getting right back into AI. And it's, the irony is not lost on me. I definitely understand that and appreciate that. This was certainly something that was brought to my attention, and as this lawsuit got filed, it kind of made me realize that what we're going to showcase and expose tomorrow in the video, I think has a chance of being used as evidence, potentially against Suno this time. I don't know for sure, no guarantee. Obviously, depending on how convincing the examples we provide are, how popular the video gets, how much you guys sort of help, push it along as well, we'll make a case. But I was convinced after some reflection that it was a story that I had been kind of sitting on for a couple of weeks, and I was like, I kind of want to move on from this AI thing. I want to just get back into sync. And then when these lawsuits happened, I said, it's becoming real now, and our video made a difference in that first lawsuit against Udio. And here I am sitting on something really, I think, important, potentially useful for the people that are going to be suing. I kind of have a responsibility to put this out then. So we need to put it out, okay? And I definitely am going to be focusing on solutions to all of this. I'm not going to be sitting here constantly wagging my finger and hammering the hammer or whatever at these companies and saying, you're acting unethically, and I don't want my channel to become the AI complaining department. That's not me. That's not my vibe. That's not what I want to be known for at all. But the reason why this is something that's obviously very, very time consuming and something I'm putting a lot of focus and effort on is because this is kind of like the keystone, the tent pole. It's kind of like the most important thing happening right now in this space, because this precedent of fair use training on, can a for-profit company like Suno or Udio train their model without consent, without licensing, on copyright protected music, and essentially replace the interest and the income of those artists with its output. If that stands, and that's what these lawsuits are going to hopefully get us to a little bit more clarity on, if that stands, I think that'll be a pretty sad, dark day for the future of human creators. It doesn't mean that all hope is lost, but it does give us at least some clarity on how do we proceed forward with this. For me, right? What kind of a method or strategy or an approach or what kind of thinking can we have if that is the new rule, where for-profit generative AI companies can come in and train off of all of our music, mine included, and go into our marketplaces and serve our clients instead of us. I think we've got a good chance of not making sure that doesn't happen, but if it does, that puts us in a pretty disadvantaged position, I'll be honest. And so that will at least give me some clarity on how we move forward, if there are certain directions or places we can go to work with this technology to remain relevant. However, if this goes in the direction that I'm hoping it goes into, that I'm trying to push it in the direction of, for-profit companies like Suno and Udio do need to go get consent and licenses to train off of very valuable, high-quality, copyright-protected music. I don't think that my music is in their data set. You never know. But I don't think that's not why I'm personally getting involved with this situation, okay? I see it as this is sort of the tip of the edge, this is the tip of the spear, so to speak, of these issues. And depending on how this goes, I see going to have ripple effects downstream to the rest of us, because sync hasn't been entirely affected by this yet. You had the Red Lobster thing, which were kind of these one-off things, but I haven't seen a situation where a AI company goes in and trains off of potentially production music libraries and then goes into the sync licensing world and says, we can take care of all your needs. We've got all this great production music that you can have, and all you got to do is prompt it and we'll help you get it. Because that's certainly coming down the pipeline. You guys all see that happening at some point, right? It'll be called Synkio or whatever you want to call it. And if these Suno and Udio business models, what seems to be where they're just going, and it sounds like, I can't prove it, of course, that it sounds like and seems like they're going to just go train off of any copyright protected music they want without any consent or licensing. This is going to have impacts for the rest of us. So it's kind of like this is sort of the pinnacle of this issue. And this is why I really want to focus on this and spend some time. And the other reason I realize is that, like, I'm at a point in my career where I can afford to focus on this stuff. You talked to me back in 2008 or 2010 when I was just getting started and this was happening. I don't have the time and the attention and the energy to do that. I'm so focused. I'm just building up my catalog and working with the clients that I have and the production music libraries and just getting my career started that I wouldn't have the ability and the luxury to be able to spend time making these videos, you know, kind of doing some investigative journalism, talking with attorneys, interviewing experts, all the things that I've been doing on this channel, right? So I kind of feel this responsibility of, like, I'm, you know, 16 years into my career. Right now, I'm not focusing on building up my catalog anymore. That's not something I've been doing for the last couple of years, actually, at all. I've once in a while gotten back on the horse and done a couple of opportunities, including that Major League Baseball theme placement I told you guys about not too long ago. But I'm kind of in this luxurious, really, you know, privileged position, so to speak, where I have the ability to kind of sort of not have to be digging in the trenches every single day in the sync licensing business, but keep my head kind of up a little bit and look around and kind of have the ability to look at these broader, larger issues that are going to eventually, you know, come in and affect us very soon. So I definitely feel a sense of responsibility to be talking about this stuff and to try to keep an eye out for us and do my best to try to fight on our behalf. Because I see a lot of people with opinions online. There's no shortage of people with opinions online. We're going to talk about that. But I don't see a lot of people intimately involved with this fight, right? And I think a lot of it's because we've got splintered attentions these days. You know, there's only so many things. You know, if you've been paying attention at all in the political world, oh my gosh, there's been just, you know, political bomb after political bomb going off. So how do you focus on anything when literally every day there's this brand new bombshell, brand new thing, brand new whatever, where, you know, the whole world's losing their mind. So, you know, being able to focus and zero on these really important issues are something that I think that are really, really important for us to do. Also, for those of you that are worn out from the AI stuff and you are obviously not wanting me to talk about it anymore, right on this channel, there are 1,100 videos, okay? 1,100 videos, 100% for free. It's basically an entire video library dedicated to, I would suspect, almost every single topic in sync licensing you could probably ever want, okay? So feel free to search through all my videos. That's what I love about YouTube, as opposed to like an Instagram or a Twitter or any of these other platforms where you make something and it kind of just goes down the pipeline and you never really see it again. This is like a video library sitting here for you guys for free. 1,100 videos. I don't know how many hours of content that is, but you know, if there's anything you're concerned about, you got questions about, use any of my previous videos in the meantime, right? I've definitely got some sync licensing videos already shot, coming up in the pipeline as soon as we put out the video tomorrow and kind of see where that one goes. So we're not done with sync or anything like that, but just know that there is so much for you guys to dive into on this channel. And just because I'm not making the video this week doesn't mean that it's not there, you know, somewhere in some form on my channel. And I'll be honest, like I look sometimes at those old videos from when I started this channel in 2016, 2017, and most of it still rings true in terms of it's still advice and strategies that I still would tell you guys to follow today. The only major strategy change that I can say that I have been pushing in the last year as a result of, I think, AI coming to potentially, you know, disrupt us is potentially not always just thinking about a quantity play where you're doing like 3 to 5 tracks a week and just kind of consistently cranking out like a numbers game to just put out as much high quality music as you can. You can still do that because, as we just saw at Sync Up, Anthony Crawford is a producer that has seen his royalties grow from $250 about a year and a half ago to now nearly $10,000 doing exactly that, basically doing this 3 to 5 tracks every single week, partnering with a few different libraries and consistently cranking out and delivering to them on a weekly basis. So that's still working, and we have proof. We just showed you guys proof literally a month ago at Sync Up that actually does work. So I don't even think you have to pump the brakes on that if you don't want to. You can still do that with the right kinds of libraries, right kinds of opportunities. But I have definitely been pushing you guys a little bit more towards think about quality, think about, 1 to 2 tracks a week now, and really make sure that you're probably thinking about more vocals, more human elements, more live recordings, more live instruments in your tracks, because that's really going to be what's going to help make the difference in terms of how to ensure that you're not sounding like a bunch of different generic artists and producers that are coming into this industry, because there are tons of those throwing average tracks into this industry. Nobody wants average tracks. In fact, I can tell you guys, we just wrapped up a Sync Connect session with Patrick Finnegan of Flick Tracks, another CEO, and I've been hearing this from multiple CEOs in Sync Connect when we do these monthly Zoom calls with them. Almost every single one is saying, don't give us just another 10 generic tension cues or 10 orchestral hip hop tracks. We've got plenty of those. We don't need those. You can still give us tension tracks. You can still give us hip hop cues, but you better give us something interesting and unique and very, avant-garde, so to speak, or something that really does bring something original and unique to the table. So you can go into the tried and true genres that we all know, get tons of reality and sports placements. You can do those things, but you better bring something original and fresh to the table. Nobody wants something that's been done a million times before. We are certainly hitting that saturation point where it's been done. Anything that's out there and something you've heard on TV, somebody's already got dozens probably of albums ready to go. So it's certainly going to be a more important variable moving forward, where you can't just just use a reference track and make something that sounds just like somebody else's music and have any real, you could probably get accepted, but in terms of thriving and building a brand for yourself, and that's becoming more important, you becoming your own brand, your own sonic signature for these libraries you guys work with, that's the thing that we all need to be spending a lot more time focusing on. Which, speaking of, a little teaser, we are going to be putting together a really great free boot camp for you guys for how to create a sync hit song with vocals, with lyrics and melodies. So I'll give you guys some more details on that probably next week, but stay tuned. I think in mid-July we're going to have that ready for you guys, and anybody's welcome to attend. If you're in Sync Academy or you guys are subscribed here on YouTube, anybody publicly can join us for a free 3-day boot camp. It's going to be great. Three days in a row, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, essentially 9 a.m. in the morning Pacific time, and I'm going to have a guest instructor with me. It's going to be really cool. So yeah, I think I've covered most of those things. Focusing on who we engage with. So we need to be very mindful too. This is kind of something that I've been noticing myself, because I'm guilty of this as much as probably all of you guys are. Is there's a lot of hot opinions on the subject. There are people that obviously agree with me. There are people that are very much on the other side, and it's not a pro AI or an anti-AI debate. That is a false dichotomy, and that doesn't, maybe some people are anti-AI, but that's not me, okay? I see it as pro non-consensual data training or pro consensual data training, right? That's probably a better summary of really what the debate is, because I'm for technology. I think technology has in many ways improved my life. I can see how AI absolutely could and has in some ways definitely improved my life. So it's not an anti or pro AI debate or an anti or pro technology debate. That's just not at all what's being discussed. It's only, do you think that for-profit AI companies, generative AI companies, should be able to go train off of anything online as long as they can get access to it and not have to get consent from the creators of that content, whether it's music or video or images or text? Or do you feel that we should be forcing them and requiring them to go get consent and get licenses for training that data, for creating, hey, what's up? Hey, Ethan, if you're looking, buddy, good to see you, bud. And yes, please do hit that like button. Hope you're enjoying your summer vacation, Ethan. Good to see you, bud. And so I'm just kind of back and forth in this, in terms of, should we be requiring these AI companies to be getting consent and licenses for the data that they're training on? Because as you'll find out tomorrow, I try to make the pretty strong case with my Suno video, we're providing, I think, at least 50% of the value proposition to a Suno or a Udio or any generative AI company that's putting together a marketable AI product on the marketplace and is for profit, requiring subscribers to pay them for features and access to certain features, right? And is also raising money from investors privately as a result of this really disruptive, amazing technology. Suno and Udio are both doing those things. They're both for profit and they're both raising money, millions of dollars. Suno, I think it was $125 million, and Udio, I believe it was $10 million. I might not be absolutely correct on those numbers, but money's being generated, investments are being secured, profits are being had, or at least there is at least a, I don't know if they're profitable yet, but certainly they are working towards being profitable. And their generative AI technology, meaning the GPUs, the electricity, the actual training process, the technical know-how, the feedback mechanisms, the fine-tuning, just the tech itself is valuable, right? I can't do that. I don't have any of that in my home, or my office here. You guys don't either, right? That's definitely valuable. There's something that we should be aware of with that. But what can that valuable GPU neural net thing do without any data inside of it? Nothing, right? Go talk to ChatGPT without any of its text data inside of it. What do you think it's going to be able to talk to you about? Nothing. It'll just have this error. I have nothing to compute. I have nothing to train off of. I don't have any instructions for what to do here, right? So data is the fuel. I've used this analogy many times that the AI, companies and AI technology is the rocket ship, and the rocket ship is shiny and it's powerful and it's big and it's really impressive. How far off the ground can a rocket ship get without any fuel inside of it, and good quality fuel? Not a millimeter, not an inch, nowhere, right? So our data I have seen as the fuel. And so both of these things need each other. Rocket ship needs the fuel needs the rocket ship to get off, right? So both of these things are required. And I would say, without being a specialist or an expert in this field, it does seem and feel like to me it's a 50-50 value proposition. Half of the value being offered to the marketplace is the actual GPUs, the generative tech, the actual neural nets, right? The electricity. And the other half is the data. So if we are going to move forward with these generative AI companies, should we be asking for 50% of the revenue and saying that's our starting position? That's our starting, or maybe we go beyond 50%. You don't get anything that you don't ask for, though. So you do need to kind of come to the table with the strengths, because remember this. Before generative AI companies like a Suno or a Udio came on the marketplace, were we needing this technology for our industries to continue? Like, did we need a Suno or a Udio for like sync licensing to continue, or the record industry to continue, or for people to keep streaming music? Like, were we needing this technology for our survival? No, I think we can probably use this technology, and it's going to be probably enhancive, and it's going to enhance some things in some ways. But I don't think you can make the argument that we needed them, right? We were kind of cruising along doing our thing, and then it was like, whoa, what is this AI stuff, right? They come on the scene, and they have the technology, but can they survive without us, right? Can a Suno or a Udio do anything without high quality music in their database? I think we all know the answer to that. No. We have the power here, guys. I think copyright holders, those of us that are obviously valuing our copyrighted works, have commercially viable copyright, or for those of you that are working towards creating copyright, viable copyright works through production music libraries, we own the gold. We own the gold. We hold the reins here. I think we have all the bargaining power. We have all the clout. We have what they need to survive, to actually exist. Like, we can exist without AI companies. Love it or hate it, like that's just the nature of where we are right now. Like record labels, rights holders, production music libraries, sync licensing, producers, we were surviving before AI ever came into our scene, right? AI were not existing before high quality data was fed into their models. So also, I want to kind of sort of steer the ship a little bit here and making sure we are basically negotiating from a position of strength, because we have the upper hand here. It's to me, it's so clear that we have the upper hand here. So I'm going to do my best with this video you guys see tomorrow to obviously make that case. Now let me get into a little bit of this. What are we going to be doing tomorrow? So the Udio video, what we were talking about was about the musical compositions, right? The Mariah Carey, the Wham, and the Jose Feliciano. Those, what it sounded like was essentially Udio was kind of creating cover versions. And it's like, okay, how are you creating the melodies and the chord progressions and all these things if you didn't train off of those tracks? So that's kind of the question that we were posing in that, right? But we didn't talk about sound recordings. We had the Beatles example, but it's almost like just more of a likeness issue. It's like those voices sounded like, Paul McCartney. So it's like, okay, and the music sounds like the Beatles, but it didn't feel like we'd, other than that beep, beep, beep example, it was like we kind of flirted and got a little on the edge of actual sound recording coming out of it, but it really wasn't the topic of that. Well, Suno's going to have a pretty bad day tomorrow. That's all I can say, because what we're going to be showing you guys tomorrow is what sounds like to me And a question I'm going to pose in the video is, are these sound recordings, actual audio sound recordings, coming out of Suno's model? And the reason we discovered that this could potentially come out of their model was accidental. And it was actually from somebody randomly on Reddit who posted, who wasn't trying to get a producer tag to come out of their model, but they accidentally did. And there was like, that sound, and it was a producer tag. You guys know what a producer tag is? Producer tag is like the shout out that a producer, gives onto their track before, usually the vocals come in or as the vocals are coming in. And it just lets the listening audience know this is the producer who made this beat. And I'm going to give you guys some examples in tomorrow's video. So there was a producer tag that just kind of popped out of this track randomly, and this person did not prompt it, didn't include the producer tag in the lyrics, and out of the blue, Suno's just generating this producer tag, and the guy posted it on Reddit. He was like, what is this about? It sounds familiar. Anybody heard this before? I think I've heard this. I don't know. And sure enough, people were replying to go like, yeah, that's this producer's producer tag. You guys will get all those details tomorrow. I'm not going to spoil everything. And so they were comparing it. They're like, well, here's what you generated, and then here's the actual original producer tag, and it's identical. I mean, to me, it sounds identical. So of course, naturally, that kind of opened up this wormhole and these questions, and it obviously got one of our subscribers here on the channel that reached out to me and said, hey, Jesse, I found this thing on Reddit, and it made me go digging and try to figure out what I could get out of Suno's model, and they got a lot. I won't give you all the spoils, but they were able to generate a lot of what sounds like copyright protected producer tags out of Suno's model. And these aren't just small producers that have a couple of followers on SoundCloud. These are platinum selling producers. These are gold and platinum selling producers, and many of which you've heard of. You've heard the songs, and many of which have collaborated with some of the biggest artists and rappers on planet Earth. So it's pretty big. It's pretty substantial, I think, what we found. And also some of the examples that we're going to share with you guys tomorrow. For those that do doubt, to think like, well, you just prompted it a million times and then it just coincidentally generated something that sounded like the original ones. We've got some examples. I think that's going to poke a lot of holes in that. That's a fair point of pushback against this. But we've got some other examples that I think are going to even just shut that debate or that point of criticism down. So now what I'm expecting, though, as you guys know, I think most of you guys watching this have been either subscribed for a while or you guys are interested generally in kind of what I talk about on this channel. When I put out these kinds of videos, it's like, you get the hornets coming out of the nest, right? I know I'm going to get a lot of new people and a lot of new eyeballs, a lot of new interest on the video, on the channel. At least I'm hoping that's the plan, right? You never know. It could land with a thud. Nobody cares. My prediction is it's going to be as popular as the Udio video, if not more so, because I think this is even more quote unquote damning, because what we're showing, I think, sounds like copyright protected recordings. But what that means is I know the people that are pro non-consensual data training are going to come to the channel and light it up. We're going to get a lot of comments and a lot of criticism. I'm going to get it personally. I'm not saying you guys obviously are, but I know that I am going to get it for sure. And I'm prepared for that. We got a lot of that in my last video. And so it's like kind of fun to, I remember the first one, I was really nervous about releasing that video because I was like, this is kind of a consequential potential video. Might get a lot of attention, might even get press. I've never been in that, this tiny little YouTube channel we've had on the corner of the internet for all these years. Am I ready to move to that next level where we're getting kind of some bigger eyeballs on us? And we did, but, it wasn't the end of the world. We definitely got some, some disrespectful, I would say, I don't know. I'd say vast majority of the people that disagreed, I wouldn't say vast majority. I'd say it was 50-50. It was probably half of the people that were disagreeing with me and thinking like, doesn't matter, or you're the one that prompted it, so you're the one liable. Half of them were being respectful, which is totally cool. Half certainly were not. And so I'm going to still require the same this time as well. If you want to come in or if anybody wants to come in and to offer some critique or criticism of it or disagreement, totally cool. In fact, I want that and welcome that, because the more that I engage with that, I find the smarter I get, and it either sharpens my point of view or it shows me some weaknesses that I have to do some deeper thinking on, right? But if it's disrespectful, I just block them, right? And that's kind of something that I in the beginning was like, oh no, I don't want to block anybody. It's freedom of speech. Everybody should have a point of view. Why am I doing that to myself? Like, Why should I be subjecting myself to the random thoughts of random strangers on the internet, especially when they're anonymous and disrespectful? Like, I don't need that in my life. Who needs that, right? So, no, I will hit that block button so fast that I will not want people that are just coming in to be trolly or just maybe disingenuous or just, disrespectful in one way or another. No thanks. No space for that. I've got limited energy. I've got limited focus, limited time, and I'm not going to give a second of it to anybody who's not coming in here to try to have a great, respectful discussion back and forth. And this is kind of what I want to give to you guys. This little bit of advice is that we are making videos on this channel, and thanks to you guys, that are consequential. Okay, we are in the lawsuit against Udio. This next video tomorrow might be used as evidence, what we found here. And yes, I downloaded all the examples, so don't worry about it. I know Suno will probably see the video quickly, try to delete everything as I usually do. Same with Udio. We've got all of the examples. Okay, I've downloaded everything, so don't even worry about that. But what we're doing with these videos is we're doing something consequential, and we're getting included in lawsuits, okay? Random people on the internet who are anonymous, who are being trolly, are not worth the time. Everybody's got an opinion, and because of the internet, everybody can broadcast that opinion, unfortunately, right? Fortunately and unfortunately. So sometimes engaging with people that are anonymous, it can be helpful, but most times it's not. And so I wanted to also let you guys know that you especially when you're in kind of an interesting, whatever you want to call this, battle or issue right now, you got to find out who their actual players are, right? The anonymous person on YouTube is not a player in this. Sorry. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody can comment, all that kind of stuff. That's not somebody that's really moving the needle in this debate. Okay, who's moving the needle? RIAA, okay? The three major labels, the AI companies, this lawsuit, the Copyright Office, Congress, government, right? Those are the entities that we really should be, I think, focusing on, paying attention to what they say publicly, what happens, and really thinking about how we want to, if we can, move the needle in those directions, okay? So I think there are, you think about it like the people that are pro non-consensual data training, they're winning if they're pulling our attention towards them, right? Because they're not the ones at the Copyright Office. They're not the ones involved in these lawsuits. They're not the ones doing anything of consequence, right? They've got a lot of opinions and they like generating their AI music, and that's great. But they're not really sort of players in this game, right? They're not the ones that are making consequential decisions. So the more that they can pull us away from the focus, and the focus, like I said, are, I believe, as I just mentioned, those players, the less chances we have of actually really making a dent in this and kind of pushing this conversation where we want it to go, or at least being included in the conversation. So we are included in this conversation now, thanks to that video, thanks to you guys, thanks to the source that reached out to me. And I believe also with what you guys are going to find out tomorrow, we're going to also be included in this conversation against Suno, and maybe be included as evidence. We obviously, I'm kind of kicking myself for not releasing this video before the lawsuits were filed. There was probably maybe a chance that we could have been included in that original lawsuit, but there's no reason why they can't use new evidence that comes to light, as this lawsuit proceeds. So I am really curious and interested to see if they're going to take notice of this video, and if this is going to be something that could be useful for them improving in terms of, I don't know if you guys followed these lawsuits, but they're not suing for the output. Like, nothing on the output has been sued. They are suing on the input in terms of the data training from Suno and Udio. And what we're going to show you guys tomorrow is pretty interesting evidence, I think, that potentially there are copyright protected works inside of Suno's model. Because if they're not, you got to explain how this seems to be coming out of their model from what we've generated and what we're going to show you. And for those of you that are like, hey, you're not showing us the prompts. I understand that there was a very good reason why we didn't show you the prompts last time. The prompts will be shared with you tomorrow, okay? You guys will see for yourselves directly which prompts were used, how they were used, what lyrics we included, what prompt was there. So we're going to show you the screenshot of exactly how we prompted these things. So don't worry, that point of criticism, which I get it, there was a specific reason why we weren't going to show it to you last time, but we're going to show it to you tomorrow. So you guys can obviously get full access to that. And I guarantee they're going to, this is what's interesting too. Last time we did that thing with the Udio thing, their response essentially was, well, this is like a bug that the in the lawsuit they said that, like, I think, I don't know if they were referring to me, but it sounds like they were referring to me, because in the lawsuit there was a quote from them that said, well, the person that generated those songs that sounded copyright protected, I mean, maybe they were referring to somebody else, but they said they were exposing a bug, or they were taking advantage of a bug in our system, or something like that. Basically, this is a bug. This is not a feature of our product. This was a bug. This is an error on our site, and so we fixed that up to make sure that's not possible anymore. Okay. So anytime you hear copyright protected works coming out of one of these models, usually what you see here from the models or from the model creators and the businesses is that's a bug, not a feature, and we're going to fix it. And this person was exploiting the bug. That's what they said. I think exploiting the bug, and we're going to fix it. Well, I'm going to make a case tomorrow in tomorrow's video that maybe it's not a bug. Maybe it's a feature. And maybe the fact that we occasionally hear what sounds like copyright protected works coming out of these models is what the models do. And every time that we don't hear copyright protected works, it's just doing its job a little bit better. But instead of thinking of it as a bug or the feature, we see of it, maybe we need to be thinking about these models more as just modern day sampling machines on steroids. Okay, and I'll explain more in detail tomorrow in the video what I mean by that. But maybe it's not a bug that it's spitting out copyright protected works, but it's basically something that they haven't fine-tuned, right? That's more what it is. But the ability for these models to spit out copyright protected works, what it sounds like, seems to be what their job is to do. And then with the fine-tuning and their ability to, whatever they're going to be doing and adjusting the data, is to mask that source so that you don't hear the original source anymore. But basically the voices and the music and everything you're hearing might be sampled music, but it's just combined with dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of other musicians and vocalists and garbled up and amalgamated and twisted and contorted and pitch shifted and all these things, right? So it sounds like a new artist or it sounds like a new vocalist. But that's why a lot of us, when we hear these AI songs, we're like, man, that sounds just like that guy or this band, or man, but it's not exactly like them, right? So is this sampling, right? This is a question. Again, this lack of transparency, lack of also just technical understanding on my half, just to be honest, about how these models really do what they do. And every model is doing probably things a little bit differently. The less answer or the less transparency we get from the model creators themselves, the more we have to start asking these really important questions. Because if this is a modern day sampling machine, sampling requires copyright licensing, right? Or consensual licensing. You're going to go sample somebody's record and you can hear that sample in your record. You got to go pay for that. That's non-controversial. We all understand that. Okay, so what if this new technology is still sampling, but it just masks it so you don't hear it anymore? Don't need to get a clearance for that? Is it still sampling though? This is one of these things where I don't have the clear answers to it, but I'm starting to figure out which questions we need to start asking. And when I mean not buying, I had this video, a couple months back saying we need to kind of push back against AI propaganda. One of the bits of propaganda that I've heard over and over and over again is generative AI models do not store any data. You guys have heard that, right? Everybody says that, OpenAI, Suno, Udio, I'm sure all of them have said that. We do not store any data. We're not storing. There's no data stored in these, no sound recordings, nothing like that, okay? Watch tomorrow, guys, and you let me know if there isn't a stored copyright, producer tags, series of producer tags in their data set. Okay, if it's not stored in there and there's not an ability for it to be recreated, meaning that that data somewhere is stored somehow, maybe not directly as a sound recording, but it is stored in some manner to be able to be reassembled and recreated. If it's not stored somewhere in the model, how does it seemingly reproduce copyright protected producer tags out of its model? And maybe that's just a lack of understanding on my part. I'm very open to that. But boy, does it sound like data is being stored in there, right? Even though they'll say we're not storing anything. Okay, let's say you're not storing the recordings. What are these algorithms storing? What are your models storing? Maybe it's a completely new form of data storage that doesn't directly hold on to an audio recording, but if it can reassemble it, or it can take 1,000 different recordings or whatever algorithmic approximations to recordings and jumble them up and spit out something new. This is sampling, isn't it? Right? Doesn't that sound like stored data that's used to do this new sampling on steroids? I don't know. I'm going to start asking questions, and questions that certainly I'm sure people would roll their eyes because oh, you're so ignorant. You don't know how these work. Okay. But I still think, sometimes you got to ask some questions that when things don't make sense to you, there's nothing wrong. And I could be totally wrong on this. And, one thing I'm getting more comfortable with is being wrong in public. And that's been something that I was like, oh, I never want to be wrong in public. But, you kind of let go of that and you just go hey, I'm just here learning. I want to ask some questions. I could be wrong about all this kind of stuff. I have no idea, but I think, if you can just be willing to be wrong about stuff or just ask questions and be curious about new technologies, you'll get smarter. You'll be one of the that's the benefit of it, is you'll be faster. You'll be smarter on these issues faster than everybody else who's not willing to ask the questions, right? The quote of old adage of there's no dumb questions. So I think that's where my head is going right now. So anyways, I want to definitely go read some of your guys' comments, but for sure, mark your calendars. I've set your alarm at this point. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Just come in, watch it live. I'm going to premiere it live. I'm going to try to be here live with you guys. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to be live here with you guys, just in the chat box, commenting with you. But please do comment, like, share it if you find it convincing, if you find it compelling, find it interesting. You guys usually will make or break these videos and decide if they're going to go into that next level to get some professional awareness from the real players in this debate, right? Envato asked for permission from authors to allow AI to train their music. Looks quite disturbing. Yeah, it kind of sounds like what Adobe was recently doing. I don't know if they're allowing people to opt out of that. Adobe seemed to be saying, hey, anything you make with our platform now, we will train our AI model with, and you have to click accept to continue on. Adobe is taking massive hits for that. So as long as you can let people opt out, again, consensual, guys. Let people consensually get out of these AI training schemes. If you're forcing people into it, or you're training off of copyright protected music and not even asking for permission to begin with, I got issues with that. I think that's not a direction we want to go with as music creatives. Oh, thank you, Michael. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, so Nick, you're talking about my old videos with AI making them outdated. I kind of covered that, yeah, with what I was saying. And no, other than you now focusing a little bit more, like I said, on vocals and quality of music and not thinking about the numbers game, almost everything that I tell you guys in all those old videos is still 100%. And if you watch something and you're like, hey, is this still relevant? Email me. I'm always an email away, guys. Jesse@syncmymusic.com. By the way, it's Jesse. I always wonder how many emails I've not gotten, because many of you guys have been using Jesse. It's so funny. I was using Suno to make that kind of trolly announcing video yesterday, that song. And I typed in my name. Obviously, I spell my name correctly, Jesse, and I'm kind of prompting it. And in its lyrics, it put Jesse. I'm like, okay, we're not, don't worry about AGI, guys. We're not quite there yet, okay? Yeah, so Amir, you're somebody that I'm not going to be engaging with, because I've talked about that a million times. Not going to spoil it, but I think I saw that post. Anxious to see your video. Awesome. Appreciate that, Michael. Are the AI services claiming that the result songs are royalty free? I don't know exactly how they're putting that in their terms of service, Tony. I know that the Copyright Office has said that AI generative music cannot be copyrighted. So, yeah, I mean, if it's non-copyrighted, then there's certainly no royalties that are going to be associated with it. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I have to look into their terms of service. Sound Grips, you're saying a lot of disrespectful people are bots too. It's sad, but the best to ignore the trolls and laugh them off. That's interesting. I don't know. I don't know if I've gotten the bot vibe. I mean, maybe. We're living in a world now with AI, so there might be bot farms that are just going out and, that is the most obvious conspiracy theory that I think we could all agree is probably happening, is AI companies who can create bot farms with generative AI are likely creating accounts and going out and arguing for non-consensual data training, right? Why wouldn't they be doing that? It's kind of an interesting point, actually. Thank you, Colaroy. Definitely exciting times. And this is also fun. I mean, I also, I get concerned about this stuff, and obviously there's a bit of this is stressful, but this is also really, really fun. I find it really engaging, entertaining, interesting. So sorry, I'm going to be a little bit self-interested from time to time on this channel, where I won't always just be talking about sync. But glad you guys are finding it interesting. Yeah, always block trolls, especially trolly stuff. Yeah, if it's trolly, it's like, eh. And also, it's like, I don't mean to like disrespect somebody who has like it gets exhausting, because I can't tell you guys how many times I've gotten the, oh, are you gonna go ask for consent on every piece of music you've ever listened to? It's like, okay, I've adjusted that so many times, and I can't. It's just like a new person stumbling into a conversation where it's like, and now what did you say? And it's like, oh, I've been talking for like 20 minutes, and they want me to restart. It's like, no. I'm just not gonna do that. It just drives me nuts, Did you get tagged as a troll, Tony? I don't think so. I don't think so, Tony. I wasn't talking about your comment when I said I wasn't going to engage. So yeah, I don't know if you're referring to something specific. So Jaden saying they called the store data weighted tokens. Yeah, that's one way to describe them for sure. But it's like, okay, what is that then? What are weighted tokens? I mean, they're not physical tokens, right? We're not talking about like, Scandia tokens that you put into a machine. So what are the tokens? What data is there, right? All right, Goran. So I don't know if I would need to store audio as MP3 rather than a data memory imprint of the, okay, there you go, of the necessary association to recreate files. But I hope that does not matter legally. I hope what matters is they are trained models on and not how the data is stored. So even right there, data memory imprint. That doesn't mean anything. I don't know what that is. Like, is that a file? Is that an algorithm? What is that? So that's what I'm saying. We're using these new terms, new language, and it doesn't point to anything specific. So I'm a little bit just kind of like not sure. That's why I'm going to ask these questions, because like to me, sampling feels like the closest analogy so far that I've been able to come up with. People tried to cancel their Adobe subscriptions due to that new end user license agreement, and they tried to fine them for getting out during their contract. No kidding. Wow, I missed that whole part. Yeah, Adobe sounds like they are making all the wrong moves right now. Note to everybody who's doing generative AI, consent. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. I know we all want as much data as we can get. We all want to train on the data we can get access to because we want to be the next leader in AI, blah, 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 blah. Look at what happened. You guys saw what happened with Pond 5. I was the one that interviewed the representative from Pond 5. They made this move. They were the first ones to allow a generative AI company, I think it was Meta, to come and train on their entire catalog, even though they had the legal right based on the agreements that the submitting composers had with Pond 5. They didn't give anybody opt-out rights. They just took the money, said, yes, we'll take it. And then they told all of their composers, by the way, you're going to start getting some new income. It's already happened. They've already trained off of your music. If now you don't want that to happen anymore, you can take your music out. And luckily what happened very quickly afterwards, I think it was Shutterstock and a few others afterwards, did give their composers an opt-out period, like 3 weeks to a month, to say, hey, we're about to take a deal with a generative AI company. They want to train on all of your music. You don't have to do this. We have the right to do it, but we're being cool. We're giving you some consent here, and we're saying you can take your music out if you don't want to be participating in this. So I see the trend in terms of, and also you can see now OpenAI is doing a lot more licensing deals. Have you guys been noticing that? It's like every week they got a new partner. There are all these news organizations and people that have, content for them to train off of. They're now suddenly taking a lot of, and being more considerate about licensing their data. So the wind is blowing in our favor and in our direction. And I see people with their actions doing more and more of this. So I'm going to keep pushing things in that direction. Okay, sound grips, you're saying the bots are more comments to try to rage bait people into responding in anger. Yeah, and that's definitely a great barometer, that if you're engaging with somebody and you're getting more and more angry at them, probably dealing with a troll or a bot or just somebody who's, like you said, just trying to get a rise out of you, and that is an energy drain. And that even if it's just 5-10 minutes out of your day, that's 5 or 10 minutes you could have been given to something more productive and positive in your life. Don't give it to them. I've done it too many times here on the channel. This is me saying I've made the mistake. I'm trying to get better at this and really be discerning of who I really engage with, who disagree with me. I want to engage. I definitely don't want to be in a bubble. I don't want to be only hearing my point of view, and many of you guys that agree with me. It's great. I'm glad that you guys are agreeing with me, but you can see what happens when people get surrounded by too many people that agree with them. You get into a bubble and you lose track of reality, and you are no longer able to grow because you're then just feeding off each other's agreements. So it's important to allow disagreements into your world on a consistent basis. But again, if it's disrespectful or trolly, it's like, no. Energy drain, that's just basically a vampire that's coming in that's not going to be offering any value to us. Michael's saying they must be storing samples. I can't see another way of them reproducing certain things so accurately. I mean, that's my question. You can even say with the Udio video where you had the Mariah Carey, it's like, okay, so the lyrics associated with that melody, associated with the note length of each note, associated with the chords underneath it. Okay, let's say there isn't like sheet music inside of Udio's model. I can grant them that. So what algorithm or what thing in there is saying all the dun, 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 dun. We showed you guys on that video over and over and over and over again. The same lyrics, same length of notes per melody, same chord progressions, same suspensions and all this kind of stuff. How is that happening? I don't know, and I'm really hoping that there's a lot of discovery in these lawsuits. That would be amazing to me if they don't settle. There's obviously going to be either an attempt, I would guess, for them first to try to dismiss it, the AI companies, and if that doesn't work, the next would be like, all right, let's settle, let's just move on. We don't want to sort of continue this on. I'm hoping that whatever happens, we can get some discovery, so we can really look under the hood a little bit more and find out exactly what's happening with these models. So that we can all just get smarter on exactly what's happening with all these kind of things and not just listen to AI companies tell us how these AI models work. They are the least credible ones in the conversation. The ones that have everything to lose, who are raising millions of dollars and building for-profit models on non-consensual data training, what it seems like, are not the people that have the credibility to explain to us how this technology is working and how it's not storing data. Sorry, you're not the people that I want to listen to on that. I'd like to see some transparency. You got a message that the service was unavailable. Oh, sorry, Tony. Yeah, I think that's on your end, man. I think I've only, in my YouTube live streams, I've only probably blocked 2 people in the history of my YouTube channel. So I rarely do that live because I usually don't get massive trolls in the live streams. Usually it's in the comment section. But yeah, it's very, very rare for me to block somebody in the chat. So no, I definitely didn't do that. Okay, Goran, you're saying data associations is algorithms. Yes, it's how a token, like the prompt, figures out where to focus the model. I'm nerding out a bit. I'm hoping the fact that audio files, as we know it, aren't stored inside the trained model will not. Okay, so great. And you're welcome, Goran. I'm glad you're enjoying the video. So yeah, right, what you said right there. So data associations are algorithms that show where to focus the model. Okay, focus the model. What is the model focusing on? That's exactly it, right? Your token, your prompt says, hey, AI model, generate something. What is it pulling out to generate that, right? That's it. It's not audio files, they're saying, right? It's not stored music compositions. Okay? What is it? What exactly is the thing in there that it's pulling up? That's what I think when we get some clarity on that, we're going to really understand exactly what's going on with these models. Because I would even want to believe them that they're not storing data in the conventional sense of data, right? Let's say that they're not storing audio files or sheet music or MIDI notes or something like that, right? They're not storing any of that kind of stuff. Okay, let's give them that. But whatever it is they are storing, whatever data they are storing, there's something in there. We have to say it's not nothing, right? So if it's not nothing, there's something in there. There's some form of data in there. If that data can be reproduced and recreated in almost the original fashion that it was trained upon, what is that? Is that not sampling, right? And even if they're really good at hiding and masking it and putting controls and restrictions on what you can do with it, okay, but that's still the feature of the model. All you're doing is you're putting these filters to say, okay, no, model. I know that we're telling you to keep recreating these copyright protected works, but don't do that. We're going to put these filters on to not let you do that and to filter and amalgamate them and blend them and change them and create something brand new that doesn't sound like the original trained content. That's still the feature of the process. They're just adding this new element to prevent that from being exposed and being transparent, right? That's what it seems like to me. So doesn't this still feel like sampling? But again, I've been saying on steroids, it's a new technology. We've never been able to do this before. That's why it's hard to even understand it or have the words to describe it. But we need to kind of figure out how we ask these, I think really critical basic questions to figure out what is happening here. And thanks for sharing the videos, Goran. Appreciate that, man. There's a strong possibility that Suno and Udio use this as a negotiation strategy. Which part, Eric? What were they using as a negotiation strategy? I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Jaden saying the biggest red flag is a lack of transparency in how the model works. Yeah, I mean, that would definitely help, having some explainer videos on what these things are doing and how they're doing it. You don't have to even say this is where a music is coming from. You can say this is just how I work, but Yeah, it's always a thing where it's like if you come into the model, you come into the marketplace with a generative AI company and you are not talking about your sources of data, you don't think some people are going to start asking, like, and they knew it. I mean, I can't imagine the people that started these companies didn't have an idea of, oof, this is a risk, guys. We are taking a risk with this one, but somebody's going to try this. Let's be the ones that try it. We've got the know-how to create these models. Let's see what we can do, right? Somebody's going to do this at one point. So that's why I've always said it's also not personal to me. Oh, and that was the biggest thing I want to do. Encourage us to do, okay? I have seen, and this could be bias, of course. Usually it is. But I have seen the people that are pro non-consensual data training saying, nope, everybody can train off of anything. Any AI model can train off of any AI, any copyright protected music. And nope, you don't deserve to have consent or licensing. And you're just being greedy and fussy and a hypocrite for expecting that. The people that are on that side of the debate, I have seen hurl more personal insults, more ad hominem attacks, and be more trolly and disrespectful. That could be bias, right? You want to tend to like think that your side, but I've seen some of it on my side, and I've been more recently gently and reminding us we don't need to do that. You know, using insulting names, calling the other people whatever. You don't have to do that. We've got a strong argument. Like, we've got a case on our hands. We've got a strong case on our hands. I think we've got all the facts on our side. I think we've got the laws on our side. We've got everything. And so I find that when people start resorting to those personal attacks and insults, it's a sign of, it's an admission of weakness. Like, I don't have anything to say that'll be strong, you know, as an argument, so I'll just call you a poopy pants. We don't have to do that. Like, on our side, I'm going to try to help push back against. I don't want us to do that, going the other side. Let's take the high ground on this one, guys, because we've got great arguments. If we didn't have great arguments, yeah, we'd have to be a lot more trolly with this, but we don't have to be. We can really just focus on videos like that we're putting on the channel, and the lawsuits and the laws and the data, and asking really good questions. I think these are really important questions. So I would also just encourage you guys, please refrain from insults, personal attacks, and again, letting your energy get drained into places. Hold the high ground. You'll never have regrets for being respectful to everybody, or, you know, blocking certain people and just not engaging with certain people that you know you probably shouldn't be. So. Okay, so Goran's saying they certainly at one point were storing the data during the training, and yes, enough data is stored to recreate the files. That's finally the point of AI. Yeah, and maybe that'll be part of the discovery. Like, so if you guys did, Suno, Udio, you know, scrape a lot of the internet to, you know, or a lot of Spotify, wherever, to get your music, how does that process work? In the Udio lawsuit, they detailed like this 4 or 5 step process where it's like, first you found the files online, then you cleaned them, then you put them in your AI file, and then you did something else. So it was like 3 or 4 different times they're saying you copied we believe you copied our copyright protected tracks 4 times without our authorization. So I'd like to know, is that true? Is that really how this works? Is it just a one-time copy? Is there a moment, even if it's like for a split second, where the data is stored somewhere? I mean, how exactly does an AI model go analyze? It's not listening like the way that we do linearly through a track, but what is it doing when it gets an audio file and it's learning from that and training off of that? Exactly how does that process work? Is there copying being involved? Is there storing of data being involved? Good questions. And of course, lawsuits can sometimes really help with discovery and transparency and all that. So. Sampling is a new way, well put. Yeah, maybe it is, maybe it's not, but I don't know. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about AI as a sampling on steroids technology, but maybe that's what we need to be thinking about this as. Maybe it would help us get some clarity on how to think about it, right? Nick, you're saying when you interviewed Paul on it, he made interesting points as to how musicians have influences and compared that to AI training. Yes, and I've talked about that a billion times about why there are definitely, in fact, let me just get something real quick here. So this is something that I was posting on Sync Academy because I wanted to, so the training, in fact, I might be able to just show you guys this real quick. Maybe I can. I do need to make it just like a dedicated video. Let me see if I can get this. There you go. Okay. Make myself a little bit smaller. There you go. So yes, training off of copyright music for sure. Humans and AI are doing that similarly, right? We all agree. Yes, we listen to music and we go like, okay, I want to make something like that. Humans do this. AI is obviously using copyrighted music to learn how to create new music, right? Okay, But that's usually where people's understanding of how these things are similar like end, and they don't go to the rest of this. And I think this is just a partial list. I have many more that I want to put in here. So human beings obviously have preferences for music styles. Does AI have any preference for what it's doing? No. Okay, so that's different, right? It's just being told, analyze, study these tracks. But there's no preference going on there, so that's not the same, okay? Humans obviously can hear music with our ears. Not all of us, but most of us can hear music with our ears. AI is not listening to music with its ears. It's analyzing like frequency and spectrums and all this kind of stuff. So it's not doing the same thing that we're doing, okay? We have to learn from music one song at a time, right? We don't get to go ingest 100,000 songs on our lunch break, but the AI can do that. It can basically go gobble up an entire catalog basically within a couple of hours or at least days or weeks. Human beings are responding emotionally to music, right? That's what our feedback mechanism is. We listen to music, we get emotionally moved by it, we then get a preference for what we want to do, and we go create our own music, and then the music that we create give us emotional feedback. So do we want to keep going this direction or that direction? So that's not even close to being the same as what an AI is doing, of course, right? And for us, just because I can go listen to the Beatles music when I'm in 5th grade, does that mean I can go make Beatles music tomorrow, the next day? No, it took a long time for me to do that, okay? It took me years to master how to learn how to play guitar, and then drums. I think it was drums first and then guitar, and then Logic Pro, and then all the other skills that come along with creating sync licensing music. So AI is not having to do any of that. That's not the same. We're generally required to pay for any music that we consume. No, I get it. I haven't paid for every piece of music I've ever heard. Sometimes I walk by a restaurant and they're blaring music. I'm not paying for that music, but I can still hear it and be inspired and excited by it. But generally, if you're listening to music, you're listening to the radio, you're paying with your attention through the ads, you're streaming it, you're either paying through ads or you're paying for your subscription, YouTube ads or subscription, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, or the CDs and the cassettes back in the day. We were generally required to, consume music by paying for it. Is AI having to do that? I don't know. Some of them seem to be licensing and doing it. Some aren't. We can improvise beyond our training data. So we can train on the Beatles, we can listen to the Beatles, and then we can kind of come up with new, creative, interesting ideas that were not in our training data. AI is not doing that, okay? They can only pick up on what they were trained upon. We have a limited output capability in a 24-hour period, right? I can maybe create one song in a day in a 24-hour period. That's if I've gotten great sleep and don't have anything else I got to do at all. Maybe. AI doesn't have that limitation at all. It absolutely, and this is one of the arguments that the labels were saying, is like they absolutely can dwarf human creativity in terms of the output, not creativity, but the output capability of music going into streaming platforms and in the world and social media. And human beings are limited in what we can actually produce and create. So that's not the same either. We cannot replicate ourselves to make more music on demand. I can't go like, hey, copy paste Jesse over here. You start making some more music too. But AI can, right? How many people can simultaneously use Suno or Udio to generate as much music as they possibly can or want to pay for on their platforms? Virtually unlimited. Okay, that's not the same thing at all. And the biggest one, I think, is the one that we need to be like obviously not dismissing, is that humans have rights and laws written to protect our interests. That's not what we have laws for, to protect the interests of AI companies or machines, right? The copyright law system, the fair use doctrine, was meant to create human beings and to protect the incentives of human beings and creators from making music and not being discouraged from being creative and putting new, awesome, inspirational works into the world. That's what our laws are for. So if our current laws don't currently protect us with this disruptive technology, maybe we need to update our laws. It wouldn't be the most surprising thing for us to do. The fair use laws were created in 1976, not 1776. This is basically a 50-year-old doctrine that was introduced as a result of radio and TV and new technologies that were coming to be disruptive to our world. So we had to figure out some new rules for how can you talk about or feature copyright protected works, in a radio show on TV without being sued by them. Well, we had to come up with some fair use laws to be able to do that. So either those fair use laws will still be applied to this new technology, or maybe this new technology brings us to a new paradigm where we need to update the copyright laws, the fair use laws. Again, that would be the most normal and expected and usual thing that we do with our laws, is upgrade them in accordance with new technology. So anyways, hopefully that kind of gives you guys my point of view on like, no, human beings and AI are not doing the same thing. Anyways, there's going to be more coming from that. That's just sort of my working meme of how to basically argue against that talking point. Yeah, and that's a great point, Aaron. It's saying like another difference between AI and humans is our memory is far less detailed and can't be pulled up on demand. Whereas, yes, a computer and an AI model for sure can specifically pull up things that sound exactly like copyright protected works, which you guys will again find out in tomorrow's video. So it's a great point. Yeah, and what we get from training is minuscule compared to what an AI can retrain or listen or pull up from music for sure. So I can be loosely inspired by something, but I don't have the intricate details of the audio frequency spectrum of every track I've ever listened to in my entire life that I can immediately pull up on demand as needed. That's not the same at all. Mobster, thanks for the question, because I definitely will be clear about this. Am I against them training off the data or against them being able to generate the music? Neither one, because even if you create a music that is good, like another, you can't release it without getting a copyright strike. My point of view, Mobster, is I want consent for copyright protected music when you are a for-profit generative AI company. I'm actually okay if you are a nonprofit or an educational thing and you're creating an AI model to study music and you're not allowing your product to be released commercially in the marketplace to be disruptive or replaceable for the copyright protections that you strain off of. I'm actually okay with that. I actually, for myself personally, I would give consent to that kind of a thing. And that's where we were up until basically, December, November last year. What I'm saying is Stable Audio 2.0, Audio's Metacraft, even Google's generative AI model. I believe all three of them have been transparent on where they got their data and where they got their music. Have at it. Give you guys my blessing, or at least my, I don't know if I would say endorsement. Like, I like these tools for people to be creative with, but I have no bones to pick with somebody who's saying, this is where we got our music. We've trained it. We got consent. We gave people an opt-in, opt-out scenario. That's what I like. I don't see that with Suno and Udio. That's why they're the ones that I'm talking most about. That's why these lawsuits are the most consequential. And no, I'm not against AI generating music. No, I'm not anti-AI. I want to make sure that's very clear. I am for protecting the consensual rights of copyright holders that have valuable data that AI generative companies seem to be training off of without consent. I hope that's clear. Yeah, and Udio does use the word listening in their blog post where they were responding essentially to those lawsuits. And yeah, is an AI listening like you and I are listening? No. Analyzing for sure. I don't know other words for sure, but computers are not listening for sure. That's not what they're doing. In the same way that you and I are listening. I mean, if you want to have a loose interpretation of the word listening, sure. But no, the way that you and I listen with our two ears to one song at a time is not what Suno and Udio's model are doing for sure. Yeah, I'm missing a feature that AI requires human interaction to do anything. It's nothing but a tool. I'm aware of that. How am I missing that feature, Mobster? On its own, AI is useless. Yeah, you need human interaction for sure. I'm aware of that. I don't know if you're saying I'm missing that. I'm definitely aware of that. I know AI is not doing anything by itself. Um, yeah, and Gordon, that's an interesting point that Udio saying that they are, they don't allow you to put in artist names as a keyword to try to get like an artist likeness coming out of the model to protect the artists. But usually what they do, when I was working with that video and trying to prompt and see what it would do, yeah, it'll remove, like I did that Eminem one. It'll remove his name and say, oh, no, you can't get, like, we don't allow you to do that. Of course, I think they use the phrase artist replaced as you're prompting it, which is, come on, guys. That is the worst phrase you can put on your website. Artist replaced. Oh my gosh. Do you guys not catch that one when you guys were, putting that on? Not the phrase you want to have on your website. We replace artists here at Udio. That's what we do. Anyways, a a lot of times they will still drop you right down though in the same sort of sounding space as an artist that you wanted, right? They'll say like, well, to cover our ass, we're not going to let you put in an artist name, but here's a song that sounds just like kind of what you wanted, wink, 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 right? That's kind of what they're doing, it seems like. So not a fan of that either. So yeah, Raymond, we talked about Rick Beato's video a couple days ago that he made that, kind of cynical take that the labels are only suing the AI companies because they want their own. So they're just going after competition. So my question for anybody who feels that way is, number one, do we really think that like the labels are going to create like AI versions of their artists and put them out on the marketplace? Like, do we really think that they're going to go, here's Drake's new album, or here's The Weeknd's new album, or here's Ariana Grande's new album? Nobody notices this is AI. Does Ariana Grande even know if this is AI? Maybe Drake won't even. Well, we'll keep all the profits. Let's release something. Let's use their face and image and likeness and voice, but we won't actually have them included with this. But we'll keep all the profits. Does anybody think that's going to happen? Like, is this the big worry? I mean, it's so obvious that's never going to happen, guys. It's so obvious because it takes one tweet, one Instagram post, one anything from any of those artists to say, that's not me, everybody. I didn't make that album. I didn't make that song. I didn't make that video. Don't buy it, please. That's really not cool. I'm not being included on any of that, and that's not my likeness. So that, to me, is not worrisome at all. You definitely have seen some of the companies, AI, or the labels, making deals. One of them, I forgot the name of it, which company it was, but it was actually one that I had been to a panel at NAMM a year ago, where they're building AI voice models, right? And so the labels are striking deals with these AI companies to say, hey, you can help us make these AI voice models for the artists that we represent. And I like that. Who doesn't want rights holders to be included with these conversations? If you at least are in the conversation, in the consensual conversation with how you have this technology interact with the likeness and the voice quality of the artists at least can have some say in that, right? They can put guardrails up in terms of, well, here's how I want it to be used. Here's what lyrical topics or words or phrases I don't want my voice to ever be using generatively. And more importantly, what if The Weeknd or Drake or Ariana Grande want to release their own AI voice model to say, hey, fans, you guys want to make a song with my voice? Here you go. You're going to pay. Right? Not free. It's going to be consensual. I'm cool with this. I want you guys to make fun new hit songs using my voice, using the guardrails that we've put in place because we've been talking with these AI companies. What's the other option here? The other I've been telling is, fighting against that cynicism. We got two options here, guys. Either one, it's the Wild West, which is that AI companies can train off of anybody's voice, anybody's music, do whatever they want, have at it, Hoss. They can make all the profits they want, use anybody's voice, anybody's likeness, anybody's music, and make all the profits and cut the people who gave them that valuable data out of the equation. That's where we're looking at right now, right? Before these lawsuits. Secondarily, the other option is the rights holders, which, yes, are the major labels primarily, force themselves to become a part of the conversation to say, nope, you're going to negotiate with us. We're actually going to have we require consent and licensing and above board contracts, not under the scenes, quiet, behind the scenes, training off of music, not telling anybody where you're getting your data. No, we're going to definitely bring this above the table. We're going to start talking about this so that we can at least have a shot at the artist having consent, compensation, and guardrails put up in place for how their voices and likeness and music is used. Those are our two options, guys. If you guys got a third option that's better than those, I want you to say it right now in the chat. Let me know what I'm not seeing. That's it. Those are the two options that we've got. I know the labels aren't angels and they're not these amazing, oh my gosh, they're always so ethical and they always take care of their artists and they always have their artist interest in mind. I'm not the one making that case. I'm not the one making that argument, but I'm saying they're at least the ones fighting this and putting it in a position where we can have a fight and a chance at having some consent in this arrangement. Is that making sense? Am I just talking in circles here? Okay, so here's one. I think the labels want AI for their dead artists. Then they can have them tour as holograms. Do you want to go see a dead person touring as a hologram? Jay Fortier, would you want to go see that? I wouldn't. I don't think that's that interesting. That's not a business model. I mean, you saw the one thing where they had, what was it, Tupac and a couple of others that made an appearance like at Coachella or something a couple of years ago. Yeah, it's a little gimmicky thing on the side alongside other live living artists that are performing. Yeah, there might be something interesting to that. But that's not a tour, right? A hologram is not a tour. An AI artist is not a tour. That's not going to be getting people out off their seats to go see something kind of thing. A sideshow for sure. What are the rights of a person who's deceased? Can their estate essentially say, no, we don't allow that? I think public domain would say yes, you would be able to. So that'll be interesting to say, like, if the artist recently deceased, it's life of the artist plus 70 years. So if we're within 70 years of the artist passing away, then no, probably nobody's going to be able to do that. But I just don't see that as some like new business model where they're going to have AI, dead artists being reconstructed via holograms that people go see live. I don't know. I just don't see that as. I think people would be creeped out. Like, how many of us were amazed and I don't know. To me, there's something creepy about it, and I think a lot of us will get that feeling of like, this is a little bit off. I don't know if I like this. Nick's asking thoughts if the artists were in on it. Got a kickback, but it saves the company on production costs, but only just has to pay the artist. What would suck in that is the artist gets compensation, but session musicians are out of a job. And that might be true, I don't know, and one thing, also I'll be clear on this too, is that like, I'm not somebody saying that I don't want technology to replace jobs. The reason why I'm sitting in this chair right now in my office having a career in sync licensing is because a lot of people lost their jobs. Not lost on me. Technology removes jobs, replaces jobs, has us rethink how we want to be productive and efficient. And a lot of things that people do usually are replaced by technology. I'm not one trying to stop that. I've been in favor of that because that's what allowed me to have my career, okay? So like I said, I'm not anti-technology, not anti-AI, and I'm not, in fact, anti us maybe using this technology to move past DAWs and our slow production process right now. Up until now, maybe we haven't thought of it as slow, and now we're seeing like, ooh, yeah, we might be able to do things much quicker. I'm for all of that stuff. I think there could be a bright future for us using a lot of this technology. I'm just saying, if you're going to use the blood, sweat, and tears and the value provided by human beings in their copyright protected works, pay them. Pay them because they're the reason why you have a valuable product on the marketplace. That's my whole point of view. Right. And Raymond's saying by the labels protecting themselves, they will protect the artists. You hope they will. There's at least a chance. That's my point of view. I don't know for sure if these deals are going to be very advantageous to the artists, but at least you got a shot. Like if the labels are in the conversation with licensing agreements, at least the artists and again, you trickle it down all the way down to us. If this becomes the precedent of like, no, generative AI companies training off of music that's copyrighted must get, or they should go get clearances, licenses, consent, or else there could be major lawsuits levied at them. And look, we can point to these RIAA lawsuits that were successful in telling these companies they couldn't do what they were doing potentially. That helps us out. That gives us strength. That gives us sort of like legal backing for, and also giving pause to generative AI companies that are getting some ideas right now on what they want to do in the future. So again, it all does kind of trickle down to benefit copyright holders in the end. They did it in movies. Yeah, Star Wars used two dead people. Yeah, I don't know if that was necessarily you. I don't know. What was the, maybe I'm ignorant on that. What was the response to, was it, I'm blanking. I'm not a huge Star Wars person, but I do remember that they used, what's her name, that had passed away right before they filmed the movie. Anyways, Princess Leia. I'm blanking on her name. I don't know. What was the response to that? Did people love that? Were people a little creeped out by that? Are they going to keep doing that? I don't know. We'll see. Because one thing that I've noticed for sure in whether it's video, it's images, it's music, it's text, we've got a sense that it's not human. Like even if it feels a little altered or off or not quite like it's coming from a human, we can kind of sense that in some way. I mean, I guess I definitely know it's going to be harder and harder as these technologies get better. But if you go watch a movie and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go watch this movie with a dead actor. I mean, I don't know, maybe the novelty in the beginning, people would go see it, but I don't know if you're going to want to go continuously see basically a robot acting, knowing that there wasn't a human being there. I don't know. I have listened to a lot of AI conversations online from very, well-known and popular people that I would generally want to listen to them actually talk. And I'm pretty much disinterested within a few minutes because I'm like, this isn't really coming from the people that I want to know their actual thoughts. So no thanks. Yeah, novelty-wise, 10, amazing. Oh my gosh. But this is coming from their thoughts and their creativity or their acting or their musical chops or something like that. So, novelty, yeah, but lasting, meaningful connection to that content, no, zero. It's got nothing for me. And I think most people are in that same camp. Yeah, Aaron, I don't think that AI is going to be leaving the creative spaces alone. Definitely not probably going to happen at all. So I don't expect that to happen. I did see that ghost about Matt Wolf. He's this great YouTuber here. And kind of like just a general influencer that talks a lot about AI and all the AI tools. And he's been definitely talking a little bit more about like the public the public interest or the public sentiment of AI is beginning to get sour and turn negative, and a lot of it happens to do with the art and the artists that are not exactly happy about AI training off of their music. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that he's picking up on that on those vibes as well. So yeah, Beatles tour again. You could probably get away with it once, right? You could probably like, hey, we're gonna bring the Beatles back, and it's all holograms. Maybe you have some live musicians in the back, and in the front, you got holograms. I can't imagine sitting there for an hour watching holograms sing. I mean, I don't know. I don't see that as something that would work consistently. Once, sure. But it's not like, hey guys, it's 2027. The AI hologram Beatles are at it again. I don't know. I just don't see it. Yeah, and I also, Jaden, I'll push back to you on that one. The bad guys, good guys thing. I don't think the AI companies are bad guys. I think they're just trying something out. My filter on the world is there aren't usually good guys and bad guys. There are just competing sets of good guys. Everybody thinks they're a good guy, you know. So Suno and Udio think they're doing something good. I genuinely believe they think they're doing something good. I don't think they're malicious, evil people. And this isn't personal for me. Okay, they're trying something, right? They saw other companies maybe that were not licensing music and creating very disruptive AI models that were taking over the world, and they thought, maybe we can give this a shot. That's what I personally think probably happened. And I think they are literally believing that they are going to be creating and enabling creativity for a lot of new people, which is true. Like a lot of people using these services are enjoying and having fun with the new creative prospects of what they have at their fingertips now. And that's part of this that I'm not exactly excited about, because I definitely have gotten some, I think, genuine feedback from people saying, hey, like some of us weren't born with musical talents or skills or abilities or access to musical training. And this gives us kind of access to these cool new tools and abilities that you guys have had your whole lives. So you're kind of ruining it you stop ruining it for the rest of us. And that's the one that gives me the most pause, to be honest with you guys, because I hate ruining people's good time. I don't want to ruin anybody's good time that's having a good time, especially feeling like they're being, creative. We can use that word loosely for the first time, maybe. However, my pushback is like, Stable Audio 2.0, in Meta's AudioCraft, Google's AI model. Go use those all day long. Have fun, be creative, use the models that consensually and respectfully train their data, that were transparent about that. We don't know what's happening with Suno and Udio. God bless. Go be creative, go do your thing, go prompt away, have fun. Use the models that are being transparent about where they got it, because I'm just telling you, I'm a copyright holder and I'm cool with those companies. I mean, I'm not saying I think I would use them, and obviously be careful about using them commercially. But those aren't the ones that I've got a bone to pick with. I'm saying Suno and Udio, and the reason why you guys love those, and I can tell you exactly, I shouldn't say I can tell you, but I'm highly suspicious, or I've got certainties. I got a level of certainty, I should say. So the reason why you love these models is because they sound more human than the other ones, right? That's the whole thing. They've got vocalists, they've got lyrics, they've got swag, they've got producer tags. Oops, you're going to hear those tomorrow. And the reason why they are taking over the world is because they sound the most like something you would actually enjoy listening to, because they sound the most like Spotify and popular artists that you have all probably enjoyed. And how is it doing that? Why does it sound just like the human artist that you love? How is this model able to do that? I don't know. Maybe we'll get a little closer to that tomorrow in tomorrow's video. Um, um, Randolph saying there's no way Suno created the copyright lyrics in the example. I think you're talking about Udio because I haven't posted my Suno video yet. Don't worry, I'll let you guys see the prompt tomorrow on Suno. You can see exactly how we prompted to get what we want. So. Mixed reactions, I'm guessing, on the Star Wars thing. Yeah. Knowing Star Wars fans that were pissed at all of it. Okay. I have heard that people who are into Star Wars are not happy with the new Star Wars direction. So that's been very clear. I've had enough of a finger on the pulse to get that vibe. Um, Now that's an interesting idea. AI music loop. I like that. AI or VR glasses plus AI music, virtual tours, young kids who have been in Roblox their whole life will watch a virtual show. I don't know about that part of it, but what I think would be so cool is I'm waiting. I don't know if it would necessarily need AI technology for this, but I guess you could. Is I would like to put on some VR glasses and be in a quote unquote private room listening to a great artist perform or record a song or something like that. So I think more interactivity, more access to the creative process of musicians and more intimacy, even if it's in a virtual situation, I think could be a really cool use of that technology. And maybe obviously AI could be involved with that, but I don't know. It's a tool, just like everything else. You can use it to be more connected with each other. You can also use it a way to be, more disconnected in a sort of fake environment, right? Yeah, Jaden's saying I can't possibly view prompting something as creative. It's like ordering a burger for Burger King and saying that they helped you make it. These are just words, we're kind of just debating the meaning of a word essentially. So prompting is probably the best word because you're basically saying I am ordering and directing a computer to make something for me, right? As opposed to, you and I using our fingers on our keyboards or on our guitars or on our drum sets, that kind of a thing. Obviously we are, I don't know. Then you can make the argument. It's like, well, I'm just instructing my MIDI keyboard to make something for me. But it is different, obviously, because we are obviously creating the chords, creating the melodies, creating the lyrics, and the beats and all that kind of stuff. And usually when you're prompting something, you can be as like, you just put in the word. And by the way, here's a little tease. One of the prompts we used, like the actual prompt, was trap, TRAP. That's it. Or hip hop. That was what the other one. We did include lyrics, though. You'll see what lyrics we included there. But you don't have to prompt that hard to get these models to make something that sounds pretty decent. So. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, Michael. Man, it's late over there. Well, thanks for hanging out late. Yeah, no, I didn't see the Pink Floyd video that's made with AI. So I think, again, novelty and sparkles and glitter, AI kills it because it's like, wow, you won't believe what this is doing, what that doing. I'm talking about lasting, meaningful connections with content. I don't see that happening with AI. I just don't. I see that it's AI content is fleeting. It's very quick, in and out. You see it, it's gone. See it, it's gone. The music and the artists and the bands and the creativity that we connect to in art and in media and in commerce, if we're making good stuff, it should have a lasting impact for people. People should come back to it over and over and over again. So we'll see, of course. So and Goran saying I disagree with let's not ruin things for people who aren't creative. Take a bit. Creativity is 95% putting the hours and general exposure early on in life, but I don't really know. Yeah, see, my thing is that I do believe that there is musical talent that we don't. I didn't choose to have musical talent. That wasn't a choice. I didn't earn that, right? I'm sorry, guys. I probably will disagree with a lot of you guys on that. You've probably all met people that are tone deaf, right? Haven't you guys all met somebody that's like, I literally can't hear if that's higher or lower. I can't match the pitch. They literally cannot sing or match a tone to save their life. They're literally just tone deaf. It's just an ability they don't have. I have to think that's genetic. I have to think that's something we're born with. Some of us, we're not all born. It's the same way, do we all play basketball as well, equally as well? Do we all run equally as fast? Do we all dance as great as each other? No. Like in all these other areas in life, it's so clear you can see that some people just got it and they've got an ability to enjoy it and get great at it really quickly. And some just struggle, right? We're all different. We're all brought into this plane, whatever this is, with different abilities and different gifts and talents. Yes, you want to hone those talents and get better at them. You definitely got to put in the work. That's where the sweat equity comes in. But no matter how hard I try, I'm not going to be a great basketball player. I tried in junior high, not great at it, okay? Soccer was my game. I was the star of the show with soccer. That was just where I knew, for some reason, early on, I could really do well with soccer. Basketball didn't connect with me for various reasons, right? I think music's the same thing. I think some of us are born with some innate abilities, some talents, some proclivities, or some potential, that others just don't have. There is a privilege to be musically talented or musically abled. I don't know if you want to call it that there. That is definitely something. So again, I'm going to say that I do like the fact that AI, when done ethically, consensually, will allow the rest of the world who maybe doesn't have those musical abilities that we do, are tone deaf, whatever, to get a taste of music creativity. We can use this word very loosely. I know it's an impoverished interpretation of it. I'm not mad at that. I'm really not. I think that can be a really good thing. And in some ways, the other argument for that is that let's imagine somebody who has never been musically inclined is using these tools right now, hopefully the ones that are ethically trained, and that gets them going, you know what, I want to go learn Logic now, or I want to actually go learn how to play real guitar, or you know what, I want to go learn how to sing. Maybe this is the sort of gateway drug, so to speak, right? To get people to be more in tune with their musical abilities, where before they just never grew up in a musical family or whatever. They wrote themselves off. They had some sort of an internal dialogue that says, oh, you're not musical, or don't do music. That's for, that's a hobby. You shouldn't do music. Go get a real job, right? We've all heard that. I don't know. Maybe this leads people into being more creative actually authentically, because it just gives them this new exposure to a new form of creativity. That could be a really cool thing too. So again, I try to always find the optimistic side of this. I think this could be cool for a lot of people, again, but I still want to fight for the ethics of it, right? Yes, I agree. And that's why I'll leave this one off, Gorham, with the winning comment of the day. I'm here for the disagreement. Life would be boring if we agreed on everything. So I totally agree with that one. So with that one, I will go ahead and pop off here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out for this great conversation. Come back tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Wherever you are, come watch it live. If you can't watch it live, watch it right afterwards as soon as you can. Please leave a like on it. Please comment on it if you find it interesting, valuable. If you want this to be included in the conversation for generative AI data training, please share it. Any Facebook group you're with, any LinkedIn group you're with, wherever you are, whatever access you have to other communities of creatives, music creators, please do spread the word on this kind of stuff, because that's how this stuff gets included in lawsuits. That's how this stuff gets to the people who are actually making these decisions, filing lawsuits, and becoming the decision makers in this. So thank you so much. You guys have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday, and we'll catch you guys right here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.